Let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are exploring a beautifully rich story about something I think we all secretly still love, the pure, unfiltered magic of a monsoon. Today, we're revisiting a really heartwarming story of a young boy's adventure during the very first rain of the season in his village. We aren't just recounting a fun little outing here, we're really diving into the innocence of childhood exploration and the incredible warmth of maternal love. So get comfortable because we're taking a journey down memory lane.
Do you remember the first rain of your own childhood? Before we get into the specifics of this story, let's just ground ourselves in that shared feeling. The monsoon isn't just a weather event, right? It's this incredibly powerful trigger for nostalgia. Whether you grew up in a busy, crowded city or a super quiet village, that distinct smell of wet earth, petrichor, and that sudden, amazing drop in temperature, it's a completely universal memory. So keep your own childhood monsoon memories right at the back of your mind as we watch this specific adventure unfold. All right, Section 1, the first rain of the monsoon, paper boats and morning showers.
Our story opens on this vibrant, beautiful morning in the village. The monsoon has literally just broken, and for a young boy named Rohit, he has one laser-focused priority: crafting the absolute perfect paper boat. This isn't just about the rain, it's about the sacred rituals of being a kid. But it's fascinating to see how the stakes escalate as the afternoon wears on. At hour 1, it starts with these gentle, inviting morning showers. Then by hour 3, the situation really starts to escalate. The water rises in the village drains, turning a simple playground into, well, a slightly more hazardous environment. And finally, by hour 5, nature throws a massive curveball with a sudden hailstorm. The weather is perfectly mirroring our narrative arc today, taking us from a gentle morning activity straight into a chaotic adventure.
But before that adventure truly kicks off, Rohit basically begs his mother to let him go outside. She hesitates. Moms know the first rain usually makes kids sick. But eventually she relents with one incredibly strict condition. Okay, fine, but come back soon and do not go near that big drain. And, we all know how this goes. The exact moment a specific rule is laid out like that for a kid, it is absolutely destined to be broken. Which leads us to Section 2, boats, drains, and warnings, disobeying rules for adventure. Because as soon as Rohit is out that door, those warnings just fade away. The great paper boat race begins, and inch by inch, these kids are drawn exactly to the one place they were told not to go. It becomes this massive competition of pride. Whose boat is going to go the farthest, right? The rainwater is surging off the roads directly into the open fields, turning these playful little puddles into an actual surging current. Now, this rising intensity actually scares off a few of the kids, and they decide, okay, yep, time to head home. But Rohit, driven completely by the thrill of the chase, he pushes his braver friends to keep going just a little bit further. It is a textbook display of childhood curiosity completely overriding common sense. And that brings us to Section 3, the Flowing Slipper Rescue, a high-stakes childhood mission. As they're obsessively tracking their boats, the boys suddenly spot a runaway slipper bobbing in the water, heading dangerously close to a fast-flowing culvert. Now, to you and me, that's just a piece of floating rubber. But in the micro-society of childhood, this is a full-blown catastrophe. It instantly turns into a frantic, highly structured mission. Step 1, spot the runaway slipper. Step 2, risk literally slipping into the drain. Step 3, catch it with a stick. 2 boys, Pintu and Mohan, they team up. Pintu risks sliding into this rushing, muddy water while Mohan frantically maneuvers a stick to hook the runaway footwear. It takes precise teamwork, a lot of frantic yelling, and honestly, pure luck, but they manage to drag it out just at the last possible second. The immense, absolute relief they feel is perfectly summed up by one of the boys. He says, "If this slipper wasn't found today, my fielding would have been set at home." Now, if you aren't familiar with that slang, having your fielding set is just a highly creative way of saying you are about to get a massive, unyielding scolding, or much worse, from your parents. It really highlights that universal childhood fear, doesn't it? The physical danger of the rushing water was literally nothing compared to the danger of walking through the front door missing a shoe. Moving on to Section 4, Hailstones and a Gift for Mother, Innocence in the Storm. Right as the adrenaline from that daring rescue starts to fade, the sky gets super dark. A sudden hailstorm strikes, forcing the boys to absolutely sprint for shelter under a nearby tree.
They're shivering from the cold, but here the narrative takes this deeply touching pivot. Huddled underneath that tree, Rohit looks down at these magical, freezing chunks of ice falling from the sky, and he decides to gather them up. He wants to take them home as a special, icy gift for his mother. It's just such a beautifully innocent impulse, you know? He wants to take this wild magic of the outside world, bottle it up, and share it with the person he loves most.
And finally, Section 5, the precious treasure of memories, returning home to warmth.
The storm finally begins to pass, and Rohit makes the long trek back to a mother who, by this point, has been pacing the floors completely sick with worry. When he finally arrives, we see this absolutely heartbreaking contrast. Rohit thought he was bringing solid, cold, magical ice to amaze his mom. But, actually, by the time he proudly opens his little hands, body heat and time have already done their work. The ice is completely gone. His mom just receives a puddle of his melted love, basically just water cupped in his small hands. And Rohit, he is instantly devastated that his grand, magical gift has vanished.
But that devastation is washed away in a split second by his mother's reaction. She says, "You brought ice from so far for me? For me? Your love is enough." She doesn't see a silly puddle of water. She sees the incredible, selfless thought behind the action. She sees a little boy who, freezing in the middle of a hailstorm, was thinking only about his mother's happiness. They end up mixing that little bit of melted ice water into a drink, effectively drinking in that shared moment of love and warmth, completely safe and sheltered from the chaotic monsoon outside.
Looking back on all this, there's a really poignant reflection from the source that hits the nail on the head. Today, we have all grown up, but when the first rain falls, those days spent with friends come rushing back. I think this perfectly illustrates why these stories resonate so deeply with us. It's not actually about the paper boats or a lost slipper or even the hail. It's about how these sensory experiences, like the very first rain of the season, they act like time machines. They instantly transport us back to a time of pure innocence, running through muddy fields with our friends, and that feeling of unconditional safety in our childhood homes. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. Who do you miss the most from your own childhood monsoon adventures? Was it that crazy friend who braved the rushing drains with you? Or maybe the parent waiting at the front door with a warm towel? I really hope this journey brought a little bit of that monsoon magic back into your life today. Thank you so much for joining me, and hey, keep seeking out those beautiful memories hiding in the rain.